Hello and welcome to Out in the Wash. I'm Jane, and this is the space where we talk honestly about the soap storylines that don't always survive a second thought. There's been a lot this week, some good, some frustrating, and a few moments I'm still not convinced by. So let's start there. Okay, you're going to have to bear with me a bit this week because I have made very little notes because I'm playing around. We're on episode 4, so I'm playing around with the format a bit. I don't just want to moan and drone on. I know last week's episode was quite long, but I do like to go into things and build on that and talk about what's happening and what's going on and what I think will happen. So maybe it did need to be that long, but I understand that that's quite long for a podcast. However, we are dealing with 3 different soaps here, so maybe that's why. But I'm just still playing around with this and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I appreciate any feedback that you can give, and I will try and do my best. So let's hop on into EastEnders. Okay, so the biggest news this week in EastEnders was probably the trial of Joel. Now, we know he was up for beating up Vicky, putting the video of Avani and him online, and just generally terrible behaviour. So Vicky's up first in the witness box, and she's kind of pulled to pieces over what she'd done to Joel in the past and paying off that girl. And he just sits there and he smirks. And I don't know why he wasn't removed. I know smoking's not a crime and he wasn't disrupting the trial, but he kind of was. He shouldn't. Something should have been said then. It shouldn't have been allowed for Vicky to just kick off and run out. Like, it should have been dealt with there and then. She goes off, but then we found out that the night before the trial, she slept with Zack. Now, I don't remember the actual point that her and Ross got back together. Like, when did that happen? They just went back into their normal ways, and now she seems to be with him, and she's like, I love him, but she slept with Zack. And they are a better fit. They definitely are than her and Ross. He's so Harvey-like. So, yeah. So she's done all that. She gets pulled apart on the witness defence side and runs out, which then sort of struggles. I think she has a moment with Avani, and they try and talk each other around and say, this isn't us. We need to go back in there and fight. We've also had Tommy goes in. Joel has to see Tommy, and Tommy basically tells him, look, you need to change. Like the ghost of Christmas past, Tommy says, you need to change, otherwise you're going to be in these places for the rest of your life. All whilst his mother is proudly looking on, but she's got other things going on as well, but we'll come back to that. So Joel's trial, he finally sees the error of his ways, maybe after Tommy spoke to him, after Vicky laid into him, after Avani spoke and told him what she really thought. You know, there were 3 great parts this week. I think best character will have to go to Tommy, who's finally like stepping up. I can't give it to Vicky. As much as you are a great fit with Zack, you have cheated, so you don't get it. But then I could give it to Avani as well. She was really good. I don't know. I'm still deciding for character of the week for EastEnders, so you tell me. So Joel is found. He changes his plea to guilty. Sorry, so he's not even found guilty. He changes his plea, so he's almost still keeping that control. He's like, no, I decide. I will plead guilty. So I don't think he's changed completely. And we'll find out his sentencing at a later date. We've also had Elaine versus Ian going on. Ian's decided again he wants to stand for council. This man never learns. I think we all know what party Ian is probably going to stand for. I mean, EastEnders will make it out to be independent, but I think we all know. And now Elaine's decided she's going to stand against him because it's just that easy, guys. Dead easy. Really. I want to be doing it. I don't. Round here, if you'd pulled a councillor Barker, you wouldn't get sacked, put it that way. So they're standing for council. Jasmine's done a runner. She's disappeared. Where is she? She didn't take Patrick's money. She posted it back through the letterbox. So where is she, guys? We know that someone is returning soon. Is it to do with that? Are they connected? Probably. I'm going to say yeah. I won't give too much away. But yeah, I'd probably say it's definitely connected somehow. So where is she? She's left Oscar behind. She's just gone. Will we see her? I hope we see her again. I really do. I know I'm rushing through this, guys, today, but like I say, I'm just messing around with the format, just trying to see what works. Bea decides she's going to go job hunting just out on the main street. That's it. There's no Indeed in EastEnders world. There's no Universal Credit. There's no Job Centre Plus. She's just going out there. She's going to ask anyone. This is where I'm going wrong, guys. I just need Albert Square and George Street. That's all you need in life. Ian turns her down, funnily enough, due to all the Elaine war going on, and he sort of connects her to all that and doesn't give her a job. She brings down a shoplifter outside the minute bar whilst talking to Honey, and comes back with her CV there, but of course Honey doesn't have those decisions, and she says, I'll pass it on. So Bea concocts, she manages to rope in some random girls to ransack the shop, and then she comes away looking like the good person because she helps out, cleans out, and she doesn't sort them out because she's not there at that point. But yeah, she shows up, and Mr. Panesar, aka Vinny, offers her a month's trial. So that's when we later find out that she's paid. Well, she hasn't paid the girls. She's told them to take the scratch cards. And can you imagine if they'd won? They don't win anything on these scratch cards that they steal. And I just wonder what the ethics were if they had won. Like, how would she feel? Would they actually be able to claim it? They don't even. I mean, maybe they do look 16, but yeah, they need proof of purchase somehow. I suppose if it was a big win, if it's a few quid, no, but big one, that would be interesting. Especially if then the shop got the publicity. I would have maybe gone down that route, like a big win for them. That would have been interesting. I'd say Max. I don't really know what Maxon is just plotting with Cindy. Well, he was when Jasmine was there, and then she disappeared midweek. So, are they behind that? Oh, that didn't occur to me actually this week. Huh. But we've not had loads. Just plotting with Cindy, really. So we'll see where that goes. And lastly, we have Ravi. Now again, this week we saw Ravi self-harm when he realised that because he had to do a job, he wasn't going to make it to court for Avani. He does say sorry later, but the way... I mean, Avani's pretty cool with it, but yeah, he later self-harms. And of course, we know that both Mark and Phil are kind of trying to find this grass that Mark's being accused of. So, and they know he's local to the area. We don't know how local, on a radius of 1 to 12 miles. How long's a piece of string as well, I guess. So they're looking for him. Now, how that's going to plan out. Obviously, Phil hasn't managed to take Nigel to Portugal because Mark filled Julie in on what was going on, and she moved her and Nigel into the B&B. I think they'll go back at some stage. But it was, I mean, for Nigel's point of view, it was getting quite crowded at Phil's with George living there. Phil, George, Julie, Sam, now Mark. 5. Plus the kids randomly staying over. So if Raymond stays over, that's 6. It's a lot of people for... I mean, the house is big, but again, I think Albert Square is just a TARDIS sometimes when it comes to property. So yeah, I mean, fair dues, it was getting a bit crowded. I don't really think I've missed anything off there. It's been quite... things have been moving in Albert Square this week, I'll say, but transitioning wise, like, we're still going through the motions after the flash forward and trying to get up to that point. So we're just going there, and we'll see what happens in the future. Right, let's move on to Coronation Street. So we've had Billy's funeral this week. I feel like the turnout could have been better, and I really thought they would have had a choir. You're telling me Billy's never got involved with a choir? The singing was dreadful. Like, if you're going to have an assembly banger, have the assembly to bang it out with. Like, just have them there. So yeah, and you know, if they'd asked a few people, you could have got a really good turnout. You're supposed to know all these people, like even as far as Emmerdale. Charles says he knew of him, so the connections are there. And it was just really the nicest part. And I think if I was going to pick scene of the week across all three this week, I think it was the bit after the funeral where everyone was just sat around in the Rovers. They weren't sat at the bar. They were sat around one of the, I don't want to say cubicles. Not the cubicles. That's not the word that I mean. Like they were sat around one of the tables, stalls. I don't know what we say. Why can't I think of that word? Oh, it's gone. It'll come back to me later. But they're all sat around there and just remembering times of Billy. And I think as well of remembering Daniel as well. So as in the actor, not the character Daniel, a bit weird. So that was just really nice. And it's one of the reasons that I'm glad Ava is back. Because they've had a lot of crossovers over the years. Obviously, people like Bernie and Gemma and George and that have had their interactions with him, but I just think it needed those people from when he first started, and Sean and everyone to come in and speak about that, because that's natural. That's what happened. It felt like a natural scene that would happen at a wake. Like, that's what you do. So yeah, so props to that. Of course, at the funeral, we saw that Todd was struggling. He couldn't read the eulogy, and Theo just went up and made it all about himself, which Todd does sort of bring up with him later, but it doesn't really come to anything. And yeah, so everyone's struggling after Billy's death. We see Bernie struggling because it's brought everything up with Paul again. And she's since had Paul's ashes back from being thrown into space. They've landed. Summer's got them, so they can be together again. I think they put Paul's ashes into the coffin with Billy, which it's nice. Should have, yeah, that's nice. So, and Summer's still struggling, and Todd's struggling. So, but those three, Bernie goes off. She goes on a massive bender and happens to bump into the person that's been around to punch Roy. Because I need to go back to that scene that we saw the person. I thought they were texting Roy. I thought they were the catfish. It wasn't that he was looking at his missus's phone. I thought they were like tricking him. So I'm a bit disappointed in this whole storyline, that it just happens to fit in with them. Bernie met this guy. She left before this guy turned up and punched Roy. But now he's come back to fix the electrics in the calf and sort all that. So they may be crossing over more. And she doesn't really want that, which is fair. And Ryan knows that they were in a room together, and he's kind of told Gemma, because at least Ryan has a conscience. But yeah, she's off on a bender. She's late back. She nearly misses Brody's party. When she comes through that door, everyone speaks to her like she's a teenager. Just speak to her like a human. Stop infantilizing her. Like, she still brushes it off, says I'll be over in a bit. And it is a nice party for Brody. It is, actually. Kit's bought him a PlayStation. He's like, oh, you should play a bit of COD, like, I'll play with you. Like, and that's nice. They can bond over that. And he's creating these relationships with his real dad, and he's got Sally, he's got Tim and the girls, and yeah, that's really nice. But there's an elephant in the room around Bernie. So we'll see what happens with that. Todd Theo, like I said, is still grinding away. Obviously, he didn't have Sarah at the funeral because she was ill, so he's kind of lost. And she's not really an ally because she has no idea what's going on, but I think potentially she could be, and that's why she's been kept out of the frame now. And later down the line, hopefully she'll start to realise what's going on, as will Summer, maybe, if Summer comes round and sort of sees what's in front of her, catches something Theo says, because at the moment it's all rose-tinted specs. I don't think George will, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, hopefully people will start to see what's going on, and help Todd. But at the moment, everyone's just stuck in their grief, as well as we've still got the whole Debbie story. Abby, they can all see that Kevin's struggling. She finds him asleep in one of the cars at work, and she goes to see Debbie about it, but then she finds that Debbie's decided she's going to practice being in prison, so she's sleeping on the floor. Like, it's mad. And then, of course, the crossover of the Todd Theo stuff and the Debbie stuff is that Carl and Theo are kind of at war. And I'm here for it, guys. I'll build a gladiator pit. You can just fight to the death. It's absolutely fine. I don't care. And then they'll probably just realise that they're attracted to each other. It'll be literally enemies to lovers in a weird way. as per my meme that I made this week. I am going to stop the memes, guys, but I don't, the algorithm hates my face. So there we go. If you see a video with my face on, please like, follow, interact with it. That'd be great. Thanks very much. So they're fighting. One's got dirt on the other, and then the other's got dirt on him, and they're just kind of setting ultimatums to each other, saying, well, you keep your mouth shut, and I'll keep my mouth shut, and I know this, and I know that. So, yeah, villain on villain is pretty, I'm here for it. And, yeah, just hope they both meet a sticky end, really. Like, okay, I am rushing through. It is a quick one today. Emmerdale. Graham is staying. Hurrah. He's staying at home farm because that place again is like a TARDIS. It does look big from the outside, but it don't look that big that there's so many guest rooms and cottages and everything else that, yeah. So Graham is staying. Everyone knows that he's there now. Marlon knows. Leo knows. Oh, that bit with Leo was like, oh yeah, Leo, here's Graham. Now go inside. Right. Okay, if Leo doesn't turn on you all in his later years, then something is wrong. Because he's not stupid. You treat him like he's stupid, and he's not. And he will come for you one day. I truly believe. You can't just go, here's a man you thought was dead, now go inside. No, absolutely not. I'm not here for that. I think April doesn't really know at this stage either, does she? Leo knows, but April didn't see him. But Marlon knows, Kim knows, Joe knows, because he walks in like, hi guys, I'm here. And I'm glad we've touched on the fact that Kim actually paid to have them, well, wanted them both, Joe and Graham, dead at some point. So, and she's acting like she's the innocent party here. Now look, I can go from loving Kim Tate one week and saying she's human after all to what? Literally what? What do you want? You're not the innocent party here. This is all down to you. So put up and shut up, really. Now it's going to be interesting that Graham doesn't know that Kim's planning to leave home farm to Lydia. So that'll be interesting. When I think that's what's going to come to that. There was a few lines this week around that, saying, actually we're still married. I don't really know how that works. That's on him. I can't even believe that you can't be arrested for faking your own death. How is it not fraud? How is he not getting into trouble for faking his own death? Oh, because he had help on the inside. Fair. Yeah, just thought that. Yeah, that's why he gets released and freed. And yeah, they don't want that to come back on them. Probably would have been easier if they'd had Graham kill Ray. Just could have mopped all this up because, and I've seen a lot online that go, these storylines in Emmerdale never end. But if they rush through them within a week, people would moan, oh, I didn't get time to think about that. I didn't understand what's going on. Like, stuff drags out, guys. Real life drags out. So I used to moan about it, but I've come to realise that that's how it works. We can't just have done. So, yeah, Graham's staying. This obviously is going to have repercussions on Marlon and Rona. She is actually trying to convince Marlon that I'm not interested. I've got you. We need to just focus on this. But obviously Marlon's own insecurities around his health, around the past that things have happened to him. He's struggling a bit and Kim's not helping that. She said, if you want to join forces, that's absolutely fine. Oh, Marlon says it, we can join forces if you like. But also, Marlon, do you need that drama? Just ignore him, really. Like, I feel like there's other things going on within your family, especially what I'll move on to, Paddy protecting Bear. Like, 1 minute, Paddy's trying to speak to Marlon, and then Marlon doesn't want to know, and then Marlon's not really interacting with Paddy at the moment when he probably should be. Like, I thought everyone knowing about Ray and Celia would maybe bring people together, but we've not seen that. It seems to have broken them apart a bit more as well. So hopefully that can come back. Ruby manages to get out of Bear about the ribbon. Well, she doesn't really get the answers that she's looking for, but she knows she has to find this ribbon and that's where Anya will be. So she calls the police on Thursday, but we never see, that was at the end. And then when she goes out searching for the ribbon, she finds what potentially looks like a shallow grave. 2 bodies come out of it. On Moira, she doesn't realise at that point it's Moira's land. And we know that Anya's body is... Is it Anya's body? Yes. Andy's body is wrapped in clothes of Moira's. But then, Moira has to say, oh, I gave those to Celia to take to the charity shop. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say maybe the other body is Celia's. It's not a strong defence, is it really? Oh, yeah, she took them to the charity shop for me. It's not looking great. But hopefully maybe something will be able to tell you that the bodies are buried a time apart, but maybe not enough. Maybe that's not strong enough. Yeah, it's not looking great for Moira. And Kane also gets a call towards the end of the week saying you need to come and talk to us about your health. Interesting fact, and this is from my mother. So I was going to put her on and say Kay's knowledge of the week. But when Kane gave his date of birth over the phone, it turns out that Kane Dingle was born exactly 100 years to the day after Winston Churchill. And you'll never need that fact again in your life. But I just thought I'd put that out there. It also happens to be my mother's date of birth, 30th of November. So, Kane Dingle and my gran share a birthday. But yes, Kane was born 100 years after Winston Churchill. So there we go. Nicola's being a nosy, but Nicola's been nosy with Paddy in the calf, but she doesn't know that Graham's back as well. I actually can't wait to see that. That will be interesting. I don't really think we've touched on much else. It's not really been a charity heavy week. It's just been more around Joe and Dawn is now struggling that she was all like, yeah, you should give Graham another chance. Don't regret it. And then Kim gets to her and she's like, oh, have I made the wrong decision here? I don't know. He could be good to have around the kids. He could. We see changes. Joe's a bit like Kim, that he has this human side and then he doesn't. So, but then when Graham was around, he was playing Debbie Dingle off against her family, and it wasn't the great. Graham isn't the be all and end all of a good influencer on Joe, as far as I'm aware. So, as I remember anyway. So is he really great to have around? I mean, it's great to see him. We're not going to deny that, but yeah, not. It depends how they're going to bring him back. What they're going to bring him back like. Probably end up with Laurel. Who hasn't at this stage? Yeah, that's I think for all soaps this week we've not bitten and bobbed around. I know I'm not delving in this week. I'm still messing around with format. Next week will be better, but. Yeah, just a shorter one this week. Let me know who you thought was great this week. I'll do some characters of the week on TikTok and Instagram when I've had a think about who I should give those to. If there's anything you think I've missed, what's been great for you, what's not worked this week, and I would like to maybe delve more into past soap eras. Favourite characters from yesteryear, what you'd like to see happen within soap. So please get in touch. Please tell a friend, drop a follow wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever. Drop a follow, drop a review, drop me an email at outinthewash.pod@gmail.com. And like I say, you can find us on all social media sites, apart from X. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, we're on there. So yeah, it's great to chat to you all. Sorry this has been a shorter week, but we'll be back next week with something a bit more in depth. Thank you.